Thank you, Dr. Smith. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers inviting almost 3 of us who represented the SHS program in Taiwan to come to this conference. This is my first experience in this conference. Very glad to be here and get to know so much progress already ongoing internationally. Okay, I myself is Chu Chen. Basically, following the organizers' arrangement, we will have 3 people. I will play the moderator, and we will switch the 2 speakers. Professor Lin will be the second, and Professor Chen will be the third one. And after about 1 hour short talks, then we will have a discussion. I think the chairs will be ready here. Okay. So later on, all of them will come upstairs, I guess. The goal today, I mentioned all 3 of us will introduce the SHS program, which is the transdisciplinary education in Taiwan. The whole story or the history started since 2011. So this is a 4-year program. I'm going to just give a very brief introduction about the SHS. I think some detail will be introduced by Professor Lin and later on. This is a 4-year program administered in the MOE, Ministry of Education, on transdisciplinary education in, we call it Society, Humanities, Science. That's why we abbreviated as SHS. The story is 2 years ago, just about 2 years ago, I was asked by the MOE whether we can set up a new campaign for merging science and humanities together, which are considered to be the 2 worlds and for half century or more than half century separated and going further and further. Okay? And my thought is like this. Instead of cultivate scientists with humanities or social workers or whatever with natural science, we try to cultivate set up the program for cultivation for the competence of cross-boundary problem-based learning and communication in colleges. How do we say this? What I mean, to put SHS all together, that means the SHS tries to quest for engaging to the real-world problem or the real-world issues, either global or local. Since the real-world problems or issues are often complicated, critical, urgent, and often with risk. So maybe such kind of education right now in the colleges supposed to be critical and important, probably doesn't get the attention as it should be. So in the higher education right now is too much dominated by publication content. I think that probably not just happened in Taiwan. Probably it's universal in the whole world. Okay. So put all this as a background, we consider to start some new campaign, which can initiate some. I'm not going to say new perspective, but revival some university code. And happen we studied some recent literature. I think this can echo some previous talks in the morning, this morning. Published by, for example here, published by Gibbon in 1994. It's a new production, I'm sorry, I think the color is very light. I try to read it. The new production of knowledge, the dynamics of science and research in contemporary societies. Published in the mid-90s, however, in 10 years, the citation has really risen up to more than tens of 100,000. That's quite large number. Okay. We mentioned that there are basically two paradigms of the knowledge production. First one, he called the most one, actually could be very close to traditional science production. So a form of knowledge production, a context of ideas, methods, values, norms that has grown up to control the diffusion of the Newtonian model of more and more fields of inquiry and ensure its compliance with what is considered some scientific practice. The current scientific knowledge production turned out to be the only one paradigm? Certainly not. Actually, social science has looked for a different paradigm for quite long. So Gibbon also mentioned in part 2 in several different aspects. For example, like context of application, transdisciplinarity, heterogeneity, reflexivity, and quality control. I think I'm going to just, instead of elaborate all of them, just mention the transdisciplinarity. For example, the first page mentioned the evolving framework to guide problem-solving efforts, and the transdisciplinary knowledge developed its own distinct theoretical structure, research methods, and modes of practice. So apparently, not all the knowledge produced should be like current natural science, accurate, very accurate measurements, very precise prediction. It doesn't mean it's wrong, okay? But just maybe not all the knowledge should be produced. In the mode 1, the results, people like me as a chemist, I'm very used to this kind of the conference, okay, which is usually all camps together. That means the conference are within the same schedule. And the peer review creates some literature, of course, also limited in the same environments, particularly with a similar specialty. However, the mode 2, transdisciplinarity, could be, it's quite dynamic. It is problem-solving capability on the move. Okay, so it could be changing all the time. So in the SHS, we made a model like this one. The transdisciplinary perspective can be, in the university, we could have a like uni-discipline, interdisciplinary, but we try to look for, as I mentioned before, the real-world problems or real-world issues that considered to be important and critical by all the participants. Okay. So, in the educational environment, we can pull or integrate expertise of team members together. Instead of building like new territory, new disciplines, we can keep the same kind of disciplines. I came from National Taiwan University. Right now, we have probably more than 100, almost 110 departments, institutes, centers all together. Okay. During the last 2 decades, we probably got an increase of maybe more than 30 institutes or centers, or even colleges or departments. Okay, so of course, to do this, we also have to develop the education seriously in communication and collaboration, which are often either neglected or not enough feedback in universities in Taiwan. So how we do the SHS programs? Besides the program office, we have established 5 working platforms, okay? Basically with different functions. So including course platform, which will be introduced by Professor Lin later on. Okay? We have one digital platform. We have a Summer Master Academy that will be introduced by Professor Chen later on. We also set up a couple of regional centers to promote the program. And we have one teaching department for the TDE, and PI is also among the audience. The main target students focused on junior graduates or senior undergraduates. The reason is we consider they probably can combine the specialty education and the common education together with a better effect. I mentioned about we have we have a digital platform. We purposely try to encourage the education and communication through internet and media in universities, which has been recently much more noticed by different universities. Also still not very common. I think the reason is both internet and media, of course people use that, but they turned out they just they use that as a quite idle data bank. Our purpose is to use the internet and media very actively, so that can be shared and promoted the education within the university and without and out of the university. So we create the internet with blogs, with all kinds of video using Facebook. Okay, that has been so popular in Taiwan. We create some SHS profiles. That means to make like advisory board members or some major PIs or who actually implemented the courses. To talk about the ideas about the courses or their experience. We of course put the course content on the internet. We also video almost all the program events, etc. Put on the internet. I was going to show you some of the internet, but I think due to time limit, I show you 2 websites here. One is for our SHS program, and it's also linked with another institute which I work with, as we call CASE, Center for the Advancement of Science Education. Both are administered in AG. Okay, so what we really focused on courses, this is just for the introduction for professors. We of course try to develop courses in clusters. Okay, that means classes at least 2 or many of them all together. That can help different expertise together. So balance the professional specialty and general education I mentioned that before. We emphasize learning by doing. So the courses should be really focused on problem-based learning. Okay. They have to identify a problem which will be interested by the faculty and also students. That means the stakeholders can be from everywhere. The SHS content may comprise social awareness. Apparently right now in most of the universities in Taiwan, the social awareness among students are just not satisfied enough. And this is also universal. For the professional education, which is of course important and also talked about in the previous lectures, For the knowledge integration, usually our students practice is after the graduation. We certainly like they have this kind of experience when they still in the colleges or universities. And of course, the experience in cooperation and collaboration, innovation and design have been mentioned also previously. We have to emphasize the liberal confidence because right now in Taiwan, since the teenagers, students just really lack of liberal practice. Okay? Maybe part of the, I'm not going to say blame, the reason probably just because they use so much computer or the internet skills. And general communication, not only personal individual communication, also I mentioned media communication should be really pay attention at all the universities. So our targets will be focused on this. I think later on two talks will echo on this. We try to set up the TDE environment in higher education, of course. Okay, we try to set up the faculty communities and also student communities. This is still a pioneer program in Taiwan. So hopefully, the transdisciplinary research and education can run together parallelly. And TDE and communication competence should be really emphasized. Okay, I said already, not just individual, but also the education communication. The TDE resource will be accumulated. Right now, the internet, we already accumulated probably almost 100 videos and a lot of things in the blogs. So that can serve as quite a lot of resource for those who will be interested in it later on. And certainly, we try to create some lasting effects. Not just the courses, the Master Academy in summer, hopefully that can really link to the industry or other areas like NGO or local or global. Okay? So then we can have a more legacy in the future on after some time. Finally, I say thank you for your attention.